Discovered, Millionaire's daughter's heartwarming action changes life of cleaner forever. Sarah pushed the vacuum across the marble floor of the sprawling mansion, a place that sparkled with wealth and extravagance. Her heart raced as she thought of her little girl, Lily, dreaming of a better life. With every stroke of cleaning, every flick of the wrist, she sacrificed her own dreams for her daughter's future. She believed hard work and grit would break the chains of struggle. Just then, she caught sight of a young girl, dressed in designer clothes lounging on a plush chair. It was Elise, the gem of a family whose wealth brought envy and admiration. Elise felt trapped. Surrounded by wealth, she grappled with expectations that felt like chains. She watched Sarah, caught in her own rhythm, and a warmth spread in her chest. Something about the woman's relentless dedication stirred something deep within her. Why can't I feel this kind of passion for my life? Elise wondered, feeling heavy beneath the weight of material possessions. Before she knew it, Sarah stepped into Elise's realm with determination and purpose, but her heart pinched at the thought of entering such opulence. Not today, she whispered, mustering a smile. It was just a cleaning job, but she felt nervous. And then it happened, a moment when both of their worlds collided. Elise's setting sun eyes met Sarah's steadfast gaze, igniting a spark that both women longed for. As they cleaned together, sharing stories of their lives, the boundaries dissolved. But, of course, the glimmer of charity soon overshadowed their budding friendship. Elise sprang to life, wanting to host a charity gala for struggling families. They could work together to spark change. However, as she pitched the idea to her affluent friends, resistance reared its ugly head. Why involve yourself with them? It tarnishes our image, they sneered, tossing Jane Austen novels of entitlement in her direction. Suddenly, Sarah found herself amidst the whirlwind of pretentious laughter and flashy gowns, her heart thumping in her chest. She felt small, floundering in the glittering sea of wealth. I don't belong here, she whispered to herself. Just as the echo of laughter breached her confidence, Elise stood tall, her heartbeat resonating loudly in her ears. Would she follow the crowd or step towards something greater? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. With courage coursing through her veins, Elise turned to her peers, trembling but resolute. We need to change how we see the world. We're squandering our opportunities while the people who truly inspire us are right here. Gasps echoed throughout the gala, silence threatening to swallow her words. Sarah felt a heat rising in her chest, caught between admiration and fear. Would Elise's brave stance shift the tides, or would her peers smother their blossoming kinship under the cruel expectations of society? In that moment, as Elise challenged everything she knew, the electric anticipation hung palpably in the air. Would this be the beginning of an unstoppable force, or would the barriers between their worlds remain unbroken? Elise swallowed hard, her heart racing as she stood in the eye of her peers' disbelief. The tension in the room felt like a heavy cloak, wrapping around her shoulders and squeezing tight. They exchanged glances, confusion swirling as they processed her plea. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, some in support, others mockingly murmuring about her choices. Is she serious? A voice sneered from the back. Elise's confidence wavered, but the steely determination she'd felt moments before surged back. I am serious. We can't afford to ignore the struggles around us. Her voice gained strength, sending ripples of surprise through the attendees. Sarah watched, her own heart throbbing in time with Elise's words. Excitement mixed with fear danced within her. If Elise succeeded, perhaps she could finally give Lily a life full of opportunities, a life free from worry and hardship. But would that dream come crashing down if the gala turned into a fiasco? Elise pressed on. We have been given so much. It's time to give back, to uplift those who need it most. We can host this charity gala together. Imagine the impact we could have. The passion in her eyes ignited a flicker of hope. Suddenly, a figure stepped forward. Olivia, one of the gala's hosts, flaunted her designer gown as she crossed her arms. And what about our reputation? Associating with them? A collective gasp rang through the crowd. Sarah felt a chill run through her. She recognized the words, felt their power slicing through the room like a knife. The rift widened. Reputation? Elise shot back, her voice steady. It's a shallow thing if it leads to apathy. I choose to be known for compassion, not privilege. The fire in her voice caught hold, and murmurs of agreement began to spread like wildfire. Sarah's heart surged with emotion. Compassion, she repeated quietly. For so long, she had struggled on her own, carrying the weight of the world for Lily. Could anyone truly change the course of their lives with just a few words? In that moment, Sarah took a step forward, feeling the eyes of the room shift towards her. I clean these homes, but what you don't see is the truth behind my work, she began, her voice trembling but filled with hope. Every swipe of my vacuum is for my daughter's future. Your reputation's one T matter when she struggles to dream because barriers exist. Elise's gaze locked onto Sarah's, and a spark ignited in both their souls. Together they were stronger, a duo navigating worlds that had kept them apart for far too long. The crowd was silent. Curiosity hung in the air like a tightrope strung between their two worlds. Would they bridge the gap, or remain entrenched in preconceived notions of class and privilege? Finally, the silence broke, and a hand clapped, then another. The applause grew, building momentum, echoing their dreams for change. Both women stood taller, the air surrounding them electrifying, crackling with possibility. Sarah felt warmth pooled in her heart, hope dancing like fireflies, yet even amid the applause, a shadow loomed. In the quiet corners of the room, eyes filled with resentment flashed. Not everyone was ready for change. Would the unity between Sarah and Elise lead to real transformation, or would their friendship meet bitter resistance? As their hearts raced, they both knew the real battle was only beginning. And as the claps faded into questioning whispers, one thing became certain: the moment of truth would soon arrive. The applause lingered in the air, a fragile thread connecting Sarah and Elise to hope. But that connection felt tenuous as they exchanged glances, sensing the unease that still rippled through the crowd. The excitement that had once filled the room was quickly shifted by an undercurrent of disbelief. As the clapping subsided, Sarah's heart sank. She turned toward her daughter, Lily, who was seated at the back, wide-eyed and gripping her ragged teddy bear. The sight of her, so innocent and fragile amidst the chaos, fueled Sarah's resolve. This is bigger than me, she thought. This is for her. Elise, too, seemed to draw strength from the moment. She stepped forward once more. I know change won't be easy, she said, her voice steady and full of conviction. But we have the power to redefine what this gala can mean. Join us. We can provide scholarships, community programs, and resources that can uplift our entire community. But Olivia wasn't done. She smirked, raising a hand as if to silence the crowd. And what about us, the ones who've worked hard for our status? Are we to just hand it over to the very people who can't even keep a clean house? What a joke! A murmur of agreement echoed from a few wealthy attendees. Sarah felt a stab of indignation. Did they really believe they could question her worth? Elise's expression hardened. It's not about keeping score, Olivia. It's about understanding that privilege comes with responsibility to lift others as we rise. A few heads nodded slowly, but the tension pinched tighter. The divide was palpable, as if their two worlds were colliding in a storm of emotions. Sarah, what do you think? Elise turned, her gaze steady but searching. You have a voice, and now is the time to use it. The weight of the moment pulled at Sarah's chest. She spoke slowly, the words feeling careful, thought out. I want a better life for my daughter. More than anything, I want her to dream big. But dreams mean nothing without support. It's not just my struggle, it's the struggle of so many who feel unseen. As her voice rose, Sarah felt the anxiety release. Maybe, just maybe, they could make a difference together. Would they see the truth? Can I hold their gaze long enough to touch their hearts? A new sound broke the tension, a soft clap from a woman in the back, then another. Gradually, more people joined in, and soon the applause swelled again. But in the crevices of the crowd, frowns lingered. Not everyone was convinced. The excitement drew Elise and Sarah closer. They stood together, two unlikely allies, as the applause ignited a flicker of resolve. Let us start by selecting a date, and planning a list of ways to give back, Elise suggested, her enthusiasm buoyant. But even as they strategized, Sarah noticed the disapproving eyes of those who would never accept her presence as their equal. If Olivia was there, this would be a battle fought on two fronts. We need to prepare for the backlash, Sarah murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. Some want to give up their privilege so easily. Elise clenched her jaw, fear swirling in her eyes. They can't stop us if we work together. We can show them. We can change lives. As the two women leaned closer, brainstorming ideas, a singular thought pierced through Sarah's mind. What if they succeeded? Would it ripple through the community? Would it reach beyond just them and change everything? As they plotted their next steps, Sarah and Elise were unaware of the lurking storm. Olivia stood at the edge of the crowd, eyes narrowed and plotting her own counterattack. The tension between the two women and their worlds would soon erupt. The moment of truth was not just about the gala, it was about all of them, each of their lives hanging in the balance. Would their dreams survive the forces unleashed by their audacity? As the night wore on, they could only hope for an answer before the gala's day dawned. The air grew heavy as the applause faded into hesitant conversations. Sarah could feel the unmistakable tension knotting in her stomach. Suddenly, the grand ballroom felt like an arena, every eye watching her, judging her. She took a deep breath, holding on to the memory of Lily's wide eyes and gripping the teddy bear like a lifeline. Do you think they can really perceive the change? Sarah asked Elise, her voice woven with uncertainty. They have to, Sarah. For our kids. For their future. We must believe. Elise replied, her tone fierce, like a fighter gearing up for a battle. Sarah nodded, trying to absorb Elise's fervor, yet, doubt lingered like dark clouds on the horizon. A part of her wanted to retreat, to shield herself and Lily from the impending storm. But the closer they drew to their mission, the more her resolve solidified. She glanced across the room, catching sight of Olivia, whispering to her followers. The calculated smirk on Olivia's face sent a chill down Sarah's spine. What are they saying? Sarah whispered to Elise, her voice low. Planning their next move. We can't let them intimidate us. We're doing this for everyone who feels powerless. For your daughter. Do it for Lily. The determined fire in Elise's eyes reignited Sarah's hope. She focused on the faces of the crowd. Some were concerned, some curious, and a few seemed genuinely interested in what they had to say. Let us show them what unity looks like, Sarah said, stepping forward, suddenly consumed by a rush of courage. We can't retreat, or we'll let Olivia win. This is our chance. Elise cheered her on. Yes. Speak from your heart, Sarah. Taking a deep breath, Sarah stepped into the spotlight again. What if we all tried to imagine the difference we could make together? Imagine scholarships for children whose parents can't afford them. Imagine a community where no family is left behind. Her voice surged with conviction. It's not charity, it's a partnership. A chance for all of us to elevate our community. It won't erase the past, but it's a step toward healing. A ripple of soft murmurs spread through the crowd, and Sarah felt the stirrings of connection shift. Hope hung palpably in the air. But Olivia clapped loudly, her laughter slicing through the moment. Is this a fairy tale? You really think we owe others just because they chose not to strive harder? What a laugh. The crowd hushed, eyes darting between them. Sarah's heart raced again, but she didn't back down. Not this time. I strive every day to build a better life for my child, she countered defiantly. We all have stories of struggle. What matters is how we lift each other. Aren't we all responsible for each other? Some faces softened, while others remained hardened like stone. Sarah could sense the divide widening, but she pressed on, fueled by something deeper than fear. She felt the weight of every mother's struggle, and the desire to transcend it for Lily's future. Elise joined her side, and together, they stood firm, ready to face whatever came next. Even as Olivia continued her tirade, Sarah felt the transformative power blooming in her heart, fueled by hope and defiance. But as chants of support began to trickle in from unexpected corners of the crowd, Sarah caught sight of Olivia's eyes narrowed with fierce determination. The wealthy elite would not let this go without an effort to maintain control. Sarah, look! Elise whispered sharply, pointing toward Olivia. The crowd was shifting again, and whispers turned to heated discussions. Olivia had surrounded herself with her supporters, and they were planning something bigger. Sarah swallowed hard. Would they fight back? Uncertainty crept in, a crack in the newfound hope. But they had taken the first step. They had voiced change. As turmoil brewed, Sarah straightened, fueled by determination. Together, we can make this happen. Will you help us seize this moment? She called, her voice resonating through the crowd. For every gaze of doubt cast in her direction, she could now see flickers of hope sparking in the eyes of others. But just as she thought the tide may turn, Olivia raised an eyebrow and smiled a smile that promised trouble. Of course, Sarah. But this isn't over. What would Olivia do next? The question hung heavily as Sarah stood there, heart racing, ready for the storm that was about to unfold. Would they stand united, or would they fracture before they reached the light? The tension in the room had coiled tightly, and Sarah could feel the weight of Olivia's gaze bearing down on her like a storm cloud. There was a quiet energy, a low buzz of anticipation that hummed through the crowd, amplifying every heartbeat. What will they do? Sarah thought, a mix of anxiety and adrenaline flooding her system. Elise squeezed her hand, grounding her. Remember, Sarah, we're not alone. Look around. There are allies here. Sarah turned her head, searching the faces in the crowd. She saw the uncertain glances, but also familiar faces. Parents she'd met at school events, older neighbors, and even a few younger folks who had once been in the same place as her, struggling to make ends meet. That's right, Sarah murmured under her breath, feeling their collective hope swelling like a tide. We can do this together. But Olivia wasn't finished. She stepped forward, her heels clicking sharply on the polished floor, slicing through the hopeful atmosphere. You think these stories you're sharing are enough? You think you can change the minds of the privileged? Her sharp voice dripped with ridicule but had an underlying threat, a chilling confidence. Sarah took a breath, and with it, she gathered her thoughts. It's not just about changing minds, Olivia. It's about changing lives. The crowd shifted again, some nodding in agreement while others crossed their arms defensively. With a disarming grin, Olivia replied, lives? How charming. But do you know what it takes to truly change lives? Money, my dear. Lots of it. And until you can offer that, your words are nothing but fluff. The laughter that followed rang sharp and cold, and Sarah felt a shiver crawl up her spine, but beneath the laughter, she felt fire igniting within her. We can't allow fear to dictate our actions, she called out, finding strength in her voice. We can't let money blind us to what truly matters. She turned to the crowd, her eyes wide and earnest. We have the power to change things from the ground up. You all know the struggles, the sacrifices we make for our families. It's not just about privilege, it's about compassion. The murmurs began again, this time deeper, more unified. A few voices joined in, quieter at first, but gaining momentum. Yes. One woman shouted, holding her child close. We can. Another father echoed, let us support each other. Encouraged, Sarah continued, what if we pooled our resources? Think of local businesses, community fundraisers, mentorship programs. Ideas surged from her mouth like a waterfall, each one fueled by the energy in the room, but Olivia was relentless. And what will happen when the donations dry up? You really believe that sentiment builds skyscrapers? You want to rescue the world? You better be ready for the repercussions. Her icy demeanor sparked unease, and some faces turned doubtful again. Stop letting her control your thoughts. Elise shouted, her own voice slicing through the tension. Remember why we're here. Fight for our kids. For our community. With Elise's fierce call to action, Sarah sensed a shift. Voices rose, people started to move, and spontaneity filled the air like the first crack of a firework. Sarah's heart raced as the energy pulsed. In that moment, a man stepped forward from the crowd, previously silent. I work in construction, he said, raising his hand to hush the remaining whispers. What if we build a safe space for the kids? Cheers erupted, and laughter filled the air, igniting the energy. Yes. Sarah exclaimed, her heart soaring. Together, we can create something beautiful. But just then, Olivia narrowed her eyes, a dangerous glint igniting. You think this party of puppets can really change anything? Don't get too comfortable. The atmosphere thickened again, tension crackling. Sarah felt fear worm its way back into her gut, battling the surge of hope. She realized this was just the beginning. Let us show them we're stronger than they think. She shouted, scenting the shift in the AIR.as. The crowd began to gather around her, their voices rising like an anthem. Sarah's heart pounded louder. The stakes were high, and Olivia's threats loomed large, but something had shifted. They were banding together. And in the midst of this rising choir of hope, Sarah wondered, was this newfound unity strong enough to withstand the storm Olivia was about to unleash? She could feel the echoes of uncertainty fluttering behind her, but she couldn't look back now. A deep breath, and she leaned into the fight, ready to face whatever challenge came next. Would the bond they forged be enough to carry them through Olivia's next move? The crowd's energy surged, a living thing, pushing against Olivia's coldness. Yet, even as Sarah felt the warmth of collective support, she couldn't shake the rise of anxiety coiling in her stomach. Would the reality of their daunting task quench this flicker of hope? All right, let us get to it. Sarah shouted, rallying her newfound tribe. She looked at the man who had proposed building the safe space for kids. What's your name? Jake, he replied, his voice carrying confidence amidst the noise. Jake, how can we start? Sarah stepped closer, trying to contain the rush of ideas buzzing in her mind. Maybe a community meeting? We can list out resources, see who can help. Jake nodded, his enthusiasm infectious. We need to figure out what tools we'll need, people who might want to donate supplies. Maybe the local hardware store? Yes. Sarah exclaimed, feeling the energy ripple. And we should reach out to parents at the schools, explain our vision. As they spoke, Sarah noticed Olivia's expression hardening, a storm brewing behind her icy gaze. Olivia's voice cut through, sharp like glass. You really think they'll help? Those businesses won't risk their profits for your little project. The laughter in the crowd waned for a moment, the unyielding uncertainty creeping back in. But Sarah sensed that this moment held the power to change the narrative. But this isn't just a project for kids. It's a chance for everyone to invest in the community. People want to help when they see a purpose. A mother with dark circles under her eyes stood tall. "I'll speak to my sister who runs a daycare. She might have donations or even ideas." "Yes." Another voice chimed in, and soon, the crowd began exchanging ideas and connections, as if igniting a wildfire, but Olivia stepped closer, lowering her voice so only Sarah could hear. "You do realize, don't you? The moment you start building something, I'll be there to take it apart. You can buy the best materials, but I'll use the law to destroy you." Fear fluttered once more in Sarah's throat. She looked around, sensing the wavering belief in some of the faces surrounding her. Would they falter? Elise moved beside her, a fierce look turning her features unwavering. "They've got this. We've got each other. We won't let her intimidate us." "I know," but Sarah's voice shook slightly. "Don't." Elise's eyes bore into hers, a storm of encouragement. "Listen to them. They believe in this. Don't you dare let that snake get into your head." With that, Sarah inhaled deeply, allowing Elise's fierce energy to anchor her. "All right, everyone," she called, channeling the passion swirling around her. "Let us keep going. Who else has an idea?" Hands shot up. Ideas flowed: fundraisers at the local park, food drives, a bake sale. Each suggestion sparked excitement, their very own battle anthem against Olivia's looming threat. Suddenly, a soft voice cut through. An elderly woman at the back, frail but fierce, lifted her cane for attention. "I used to run a community center. I can help." The room erupted. Sarah's heart swelled. With each new voice, despair shifted into determination. They were weaving a tapestry of hope, a community that couldn't be unraveled so easily. But just as they began to organize, Olivia raised an eyebrow, her lips curling into a smirk. "Good luck, everyone. I'll be waiting for you to fail." As Olivia stepped back, Sarah's heart raced, a cocktail of dread and resolve flooding her senses. Could they really outlast her? Rodney, a quiet guy from the corner, now spoke up confidently. "No one gets to define our fight except us." The crowd roared, united. But as Sarah felt the wave of empowerment, she also sensed the shadow of Olivia lurking tight behind them. Was this newfound strength enough? The thought loomed large, but something inside Sarah pushed her forward. They had to act, not let darkness snuff out the spark. Rounding off the meeting, Sarah promised everyone, "We'll regroup tomorrow. We're not just building a space, we're building our future." As the crowd began to disperse, Sarah's eyes drifted to Olivia one last time. The glare she received sent chills down her spine. Whatever happened next, Sarah knew one thing: the battle had only just begun, and the stakes were higher than ever. But heeding the warning, deeper shadows begun to creep, raising a new question in Sarah's chest: what was Olivia planning next? The following day dawned brighter than Sarah had expected, sunlight streaming through her window as if trying to dispel any lingering shadows of doubt. She jumped out of bed, her heart racing with a mixture of excitement and anxiety. Today was a crucial step in their plan, and she needed to harness that initial momentum. Dressed and fueled with coffee, Sarah grabbed her phone, heart pounding as she typed a message to everyone involved. "Let's South meet at the park at 10. We'll finalize our ideas and start dividing up tasks. Together, we can do this." She hit send and stared at the screen, a sense of unease creeping in. Would they show up? The nervous flutter didn't last long. When Sarah arrived at the park, she was greeted by a lively buzz. The crowd had gathered, filling the grassy space with energy. Old and young alike mingled, talking about plans and bringing ideas to life. Children played nearby, their laughter a reminder of the very purpose behind their mission. Seeing familiar faces fill the area filled her with warmth. Jake waved her over, a clipboard tucked under his arm. "Got some great ideas from a local store. They're willing to donate supplies, but we might need volunteers to help organize." "Perfect." Sarah smiled. "I'm so glad everyone is here. We need to keep this energy going. As she whipped up excitement, Sarah noticed Olivia lurking at the edge of the park. The woman's presence was like ice in a summer day, sending chills through her resolve. Olivia's eyes glinted with a mix of disdain and amusement as she watched the gathering. "Are you all really foolish enough to think you can make a difference?" she called out, her voice slicing through the hopeful chatter. "This community doesn't care as much as you think they do." Whispers rippled through the crowd, some faces clouded with confusion, others with determination. But before Olivia could drag them down any further, Sarah stepped forward, her throat dry yet her voice steady. "We're not just building a project, Olivia. We're building hope. We believe in this community." A woman stepped beside her, gripping her daughter's hand. "My daughter needs a safe place to play and learn," she said, her voice strong. "We need this. We want to fight for it." Cheers erupted from the crowd, and with it, Sarah felt a surge of confidence. She knew they were fighting against more than just Olivia. They were wrestling decades of neglect in their community, and it was time to turn that narrative around. Amidst the passion, however, anxiety flickered in her mind. What if Olivia was right? What if they couldn't muster enough support? As if reading her mind, Elise moved in closely, squeezing her shoulder. "We won't let her take this away from us. Just look around. We're more than a project, we're a family now." Family. The word lingered in Sarah's heart, solidifying her steadfast determination. "Let us break into groups," she shouted, igniting a whirlwind of activity, yet as they began to organize, Sarah felt the weight of Olivia's gaze. The woman stood like a dark cloud, a menacing wind at their backs. What would she do next? Would she find a way, legal or otherwise, to sabotage their efforts? The day rolled on, filled with laughter and brainstorming. They created flyers, scheduled meetings, and organized groups to set up donations. The community buzzed with the kind of hope that awakened a primal sense of fighting spirit, but as they wrapped up their first successful day, a chilling message popped up on Sarah's phone. "I will be watching you. You cannot hide. You will fail," it read, signed with a simple, icy O. An unease settled in Sarah's stomach, but this was no time to falter. "Everyone, remember," she said, addressing the crowd, "we are stronger together. With every setback we face, we only grow more determined. Let us keep fighting." As she spoke, she caught a glimpse of Olivia's silhouette retreating into the shadows, a satisfied gleam in her eyes. In that moment, Sarah knew the battle wasn't just about building a safe space, it was an all-out war for their future. As the crowd erupted in fervor, Sarah's mind raced. How far was Olivia willing to go to dismantle their dreams? A storm was brewing, and Sarah could feel it on the horizon. Could they withstand the tempest that Olivia was about to unleash? Tomorrow would tell. The next morning, Sarah woke with determination etched on her face. The sun filtered brightly through her window, but it felt different today, more like a spotlight, urging her from rest. Beside her alarm clock, she could still see the text from Olivia, hanging like a smog in her mind. As she prepared for the day, each movement felt charged, a prompt to be ready for whatever lay ahead. She dressed quickly, tying her hair back firmly as if to anchor her resolve. Today wasn't just about community planning, it was about facing Olivia head-on. When Sarah arrived at the park, she was surprised at the sea of familiar faces waiting for her. It charged her with unexpected optimism. Jake was coordinating volunteers, and Elise was handing out flyers with a big smile. Hearts were open, and hopes were high, but Sarah could still sense the shadow lurking beyond their cheerful hum. "Hey, everyone!" Sarah clapped her hands to gather attention. "Thanks for coming out today. We've got a lot of ideas to finalize about our project." A low murmur of agreement washed over the group, but she caught a few anxious glances. "I know we got that message yesterday," Sarah continued, her chest tightening as she said the words. "But let us remember why we're here. We're not just a group, we're this community's heartbeat. The crowd nodded, a small but powerful wave of support flowing through them. "Let us break into groups again," Sarah suggested, heart racing with excitement. "We can tackle the supplies, fundraising, and creating outreach programs. Remember, every little bit counts." With newfound energy, they scattered in laughter and chatter, yet Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something was still off. A weight in her gut was persistent, whispering doubts into her thoughts. As she organized her group, she glanced around the park for signs of Olivia but saw only the dedicated faces of her community. Hours passed, filled with fervor, but the atmosphere shifted when an unexpected figure strode in, an unfamiliar man, tall and handsome, wearing a tailored suit that screamed wealth. He observed the gathering, aloof yet intrigued, before sauntering over to Sarah. "Excuse me, are you the one leading this effort?" he asked, a confident smile curving his lips. Yes, I am," Sarah replied, a bit taken aback. "I'm Kyle. Just moved here and heard about what you're doing." He looked around, interest sparking in his eyes. "It's impressive. Really. I'd like to help." Surprised, Sarah blinked. "Help? How?" "I have experience in fundraising and connections with local businesses," Kyle said, his voice smooth. "I could help you guys raise the money you need to get your project off the ground." The offer hung in the air, sweet yet tinged with uncertainty. Could he really be genuine? Had Olivia sent him as a distraction? As she weighed her response, the familiar chill in the air intensified. Over by the edge of the park, she spotted a dark figure she was all too familiar with, Olivia watching with a predatory glimmer in her eyes, a spectator of their every move. "Look, I appreciate your offer." Sarah breathed deeply, forcing the words out. "But I need to assess who's really committed to this. We can't afford distractions." Kyle nodded, still smiling, but Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of unease gnawing at her insides. Could they trust him? Was this a chance they couldn't ignore, or would it only lead to more chaos? As the day wound down, Sarah's heart raced with uncertainty and excitement, caught in a web of possibilities and threats. She had to make a choice not just for herself, but for the community that had pinned its hopes on her vision. But before she could further unravel her thoughts, a new message chimed on her phone. "You think you can rebuild what was lost? Dreams like yours don't stand a chance," it read, signed once again with the chilling "O." Sarah's heart sank. With each tick of the clock, the stakes were rising. How could she keep them all safe when it felt like the walls were closing in? The war was on, and she stood right in the center. What would happen next? The following day started off clouded with uncertainty as Sarah paced the kitchen with her coffee in hand, her mind reeling with Olivia's message. Nothing made sense. Why did she feel so pulled in a million directions? With every sip of coffee, every glance at her phone, the tension built like a coiled spring, ready to snap. Deciding she needed clarity, Sarah grabbed her jacket and headed out. The park remained a sanctuary, and if anything could ground her, it was the familiar sounds of laughter and determination of her neighbors. But as she walked, the unease drifted back in. What was Kyle's real agenda? And how was she going to explain this mess to her team? When she reached the park, she found it buzzing with the same energy as before. Volunteers were eagerly gathering supplies, their chatter a comforting reminder of their shared mission. Jake waved her over, his enthusiasm brightening her mood. "You're just in time. We figured out a way to engage more businesses in the area. But, we still need to discuss how we'll approach this funding thing." Before she could respond, Elise approached, beaming. "We met with a few local vendors yesterday, and they're on board. If we pool together all our efforts, we can make real progress." Forcing a smile, Sarah nodded, grateful for their optimism, but her mind drifted to Kyle. Was it too late to reevaluate what he could bring to the table? "Hey, Sarah?" Jake's voice broke through her thoughts. "You okay? You seem distant." "I'm fine, really," she replied. Just thinking about how we'll handle everything. I just want us to move forward, to be ready for anything. They rallied, filled with enthusiasm, and she felt her spirit lifting, even if momentarily. They worked tirelessly, brainstorming ideas and creating plans that felt powerful and achievable. As day turned to dusk, Sarah decided to take a quick break. She found a quiet corner of the park away from the bustling teams to gather her thoughts. That's when Kyle found her. "Sarah," he called softly, hands tucked into his pockets, casual but somehow authoritative. "Can we talk?" Her heart raced, instincts flaring. "About what?" she asked, trying to keep her tone neutral. "About what you really need. I know I came in hot, but I can help you see things from a whole new perspective." She hesitated. Was she playing with fire? Could she really afford to let him in? "You seem to have all the right answers, Kyle. But answers don't always lead to the right outcomes." "Then let me show you," he said, eyeing her intently. "Give me a chance to prove it. Meet me tomorrow afternoon at the cafe down the street. If it doesn't feel right, I'll leave you alone." The tension hung heavy in the air. Sarah weighed the risk. The stakes were high, yes, but could he be the key to unlocking potential they hadn't yet considered? "Fine," she finally replied, the word tasting like heavy metal on her tongue. "But one misstep, and I'm out." "Deal." He grinned, and for a moment, it felt genuine. As they parted, her phone buzzed again, and she quickly glanced at the screen. Another message from Olivia, this time more insidious: "Just wait until tomorrow." You have no idea what's coming. Just like that, the weight of dread returned, reminding her that whatever progress she made could shatter at any moment. With a resolve she didn't fully feel, she headed back to her team, knowing that soon, the lines would be drawn, and she would have to decide where she truly stood. The stakes were higher than ever, and the tension was palpable. How could she fight for her community when forces beyond her control threatened to unravel everything? And would trusting Kyle be the pivotal moment in her struggle, or just another misstep along the way? The sun stretched golden rays across the park, illuminating the faces of hope and determination clustered around Sarah. This was it, the moment where courage would forge futures. Today was the day she would confront the weight of all that had come before: Olivia's shadows, the community's struggle, and her dreams for Lily. With each whispered affirmation, each newly formed plan buzzing in the air, Sarah felt a surge of strength. She gathered everyone around, wiping the worry from her brow as she stood at the center. "Thank you for being here. Let us unite for our vision. Let us change our community for the better." A cheer rippled through the group, igniting her faith further. Behind her, Olivia lingered, a dark storm cloud refusing to dissipate. Sarah could feel her eyes barbed with skepticism, a reminder of the battle ahead. But she couldn't let fear win. With the clock ticking toward the cafe meeting with Kyle, her heart raced, a flutter of hope tainted with doubt. As the crowd buzzed with energy, she turned to Elise. "Keep pushing these plans forward. I'm back in a bit," she said, adrenaline pumping through her veins. When she stepped into the cafe, the world slowed as she spotted Kyle. He was sitting at an inviting corner table, a charming smile plastered on his face, yet Sarah could sense the weight behind it. Was this a sincere gesture or a clever trap? "Thanks for coming," he said as she slid into the chair opposite him. "I appreciate you giving me this chance. Just know this isn't a free pass," Sarah shot back, her heart pounding in rhythm with her guarded optimism. "I'm not here for games. This is about my community." "Exactly," he leaned forward, his eyes locked onto hers, sincerity shining through. "We can get the backing you need, but it requires tapping into networks willing to engage." As he unfolded an ambitious plan that sent ripples of possibilities across the table, Sarah felt herself leaning in. Could she weave the threads of his privilege to empower her community? But the shadows of doubt lingered. Would the cost of his help unravel everything? "Let us focus on community involvement alongside any corporate backing," she said, a cautious note in her voice. I won't compromise what we're trying to build. Kyle nodded, understanding flashing in his eyes. Right. Authentic change is about grassroots. You've got this fire, Sarah. Followers need someone they believe in. Those words hung there like a beacon, rekindling her hope. But as they discussed future strategies, the cafe door swung open, and in stepped Olivia, desperation and fierceness framing her silhouette. Fancy meeting you here, she stated, her voice cutting through the excitement like a jagged edge. Kyle, do you really think she's worth your time? You must be bored, or maybe you just like playing hero. Sarah braced herself as Kyle shifted uncomfortably. This isn't about you, Olivia. Emboldened, Sarah interjected. We're building something meaningful here. Something beyond your reach. Oh please, Olivia scoffed, cutting through Sarah's conviction. You think you can inspire real change? Settle down. Your little projects aren't going to impress anyone with clout. But we will find power in unity, Sarah said, as if summoning strength from the crowd outside. Olivia, you don't know us. The shackles of privilege are about to be shattered. In that instant, it felt like Sarah had transformed, stepping into a new role. The air became electric with defiance. She had to believe in herself, in them. Olivia's sneer faltered as the collective weight of their mission echoed behind her. You'll regret this, Olivia hissed, taking a step backward, looking rattled yet defiant. And when the backlash comes, don't say I didn't warn you. A chill swept through Sarah, but she held her ground. Let them come. We will fight. As Olivia retreated, uncertainty flickering in her eyes, a wave of affirmation surged through Sarah. The choice to transform darkness into light had been made. In the days that followed, the park brimmed with life as plans materialized. A community festival brought everyone together, laughter ringing in the air, filling every corner with renewed purpose. They defied Olivia's threats and welcomed all voices. Contributions poured in, paint cans and tools amplifying their mission, building a haven for children and families alike. The grand opening launched into the sunny afternoon, filled with joy. Families arrived, their faces bright with enthusiasm. Sarah stood before them, holding her daughter Lily's hand, a radiant smile crossing her face as she took in the scene. This is just the beginning. Together, we have turned dreams into a powerful reality. She raised her arms, drawing the crowd's attention. From the back, Jake shouted, and we'll keep pushing forward, right? Always. The resounding cheer answered, the breaths of hope lifting through the air. Their unity enveloped the park like a warm embrace. Sarah felt the weight lift. They'd embraced the fight, faced fear, and risen together. And just like that, a new dawn broke, awakening an unshakable resolve in Sarah's heart, one that not only dared to dream but chose to change, reflecting the spirit of every family that dared to hope. In that moment, standing surrounded by her community and her daughter, Sarah knew they had already transformed into something more powerful. They were no longer defined by Olivia's oppressive shadows, they were illuminated by possibility, empowered by love. And running through her mind was one thought: they were just getting started. So if you've been inspired by this journey, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to the channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, because your support makes a huge difference in bringing these stories to life. Comment your thoughts and feelings about this incredible ending. We want to hear your voice. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together, let us spread hope and change.